Hi, my name is Chelsey Richardson. I wanted to share with you a poem from my book, All Water Has Perfect Memory. Each piece has a quote at the beginning that I chose specifically for the poem. And this one goes, "You write in order to change the world. If you alter, even by a millimeter, the way people look at reality, then you can change it." James Baldwin. And the piece is titled, For You. I wanted to write something for you. Something to protect you from the wild that is to come. Something to make last year's untamed sit and obey. Send a calm over your form. Make the skin we are shedding cast incantation over our dread. Hold your hand. Remind you what safe and warm does to the body. For this birth to free up the ache shifting through your bones. Here, we grow skin so thick we forget to know each other. Forget we are a speck of dust waiting in space, a perpetual birthing, a tiny patter of feet, again and again. And if we hold each other just right, we might remember what it is like to feel safe and calm. Thank you.
Greenwood Cemetery, Brooklyn. I've got questions for the soil. How many worms does it take to fill the spinal column of a dead child? How many years do beetles need to churn a corpse into a tree? I would like to chart the deceased parts of the human race. Wingspan jawbones grinning in charcoal, kneecaps hanging on the page like dented halos. One small headstone holds its ground like a loose baby tooth. Smith, Rollins, Wider, tell me their skull measurements. I'm so happy here, it's hideous. There is a camaraderie among the names and the bodies, hearts and lungs tilled into the same fine pulp. In death, even our dreams are metabolized, spun like vinyl on a turntable. In death, we are hot to the touch. The chapel's crowned head purples over Delwater Pond. My hips go numb under the mineral gaze of angels and saints. I may never leave, may just push stone wings from my shoulder blades. Come morning, I'll be one of them, an offering. Here, I don't have to be clever or even breathing to be worshipped. Here, I can feel myself fall open like a hymnal. Years later, I will tell you about this place, sweat drying on my upper lip. You will blink at me, tell me you lived just a block away at the time. Park Slope, you'll say, pushing your nose between my legs. You will try to taste someone else there, and I will marvel to the ceiling about how we orbit one another, the static cling of our atoms pulling us into cemeteries and bars, dragged along by our bodies' cosmic memory, their hunger for collision, eyes rolling in our heads like cold stars. You'll pull back to look at me, chin shining in the light, and only then will I see it so clearly. That day I spent with Brooklyn's dead, flush in the November wind. How easy it is to love what is buried. Lilacs. You're playing Dolly Parton through the Bluetooth speaker, telling me this was the start of Nashville country, that rug burn heat still blooming in our chests from a shared cigarette, me coughing, you haloed by the porch light. If I could place this night in resin, I would. Jurassic Park this shit. I want to grow a whole species from this moment, then let it run rampant. Let it breed a world that I could live in, one where you don't keep leaving me with a hangover, lips swollen from your stubble. Later, your head bobs between my thighs while Waxahachie's Lilacs plays. I smile into the drape of my elbows. And the lilacs drink the water, and the lilacs die. If I could place this night in resin, I would. But you wouldn't, and that's just the thing, isn't it? That was the last time you walked through my door. The next morning, I walked the dog, head hurting, watched the men thinning pine trees, thinking, it's nice how you can see more sky now. The remaining branches, thick as you in the doorway, night air spinning off of you, my whole body singing, and the lilacs drink the water. If I could have put it in resin, and the lilacs die. Is this just sex or climate change? Here we are again, sandwiched between the ice caps in the middle of July. Pass me a Klondike bar. Let's watch the sun go senile and skip rocks across the oil slick on the sea. The whales remember what we were like before we could compute or dream. Nostalgic for our grunts and hoots, the simple barbaric slump of our existence when we were unconcerned with who heard us defecate, sing, or groom our armpits. Now it's all ultrasounds and dating apps. They watch us drift, high-heeled and pregnant down their beaches, sand crabs cowering in their tunnels beneath us, afraid of being pawed to death by another generation of vacationing toddlers. Years ago, we fired a stingray straight at the moon. Her fins rippled like labia, trailing flecks of sand and garbage across the galaxy. While we metastasized through another millennium, the debris grew fat as asteroids on our prayers and gamma rays. Now, it's only a matter of time until it plummets into our satellite dishes and cruise ships like ripe fruit too heavy for its mother branch. Still, we tempt the ether. Slingshot our used condoms into the stratosphere, cold semen spewing like comet tails, dare the planets to sleep together. We'll just be sitting down to dinner when they roll us all in a fat post-coital blunt, Saturn asking Earth, did you come? While passing us to her. She inhales, nodding, tobacco leaves wet from her lips. The mosquito drone of our entire existence, silenced in a single hit. Sleeping with men who make furniture. Tell me again how the dining table is made of walnut, how you tapered the legs, say mid-century modern, and then lay me on top of it and unbutton my eyes, fix them to the insides of your wrists so I can see how ridiculous I look compared to the heirlooms you birth from the trunks of trees. What furniture could you make of me? Matching nightstands, canopy bed frame. Run your thumb over the knots that break like waves across my face. Knit me, pelvis to sternum, in a bridal joint. Feed me through your table saw and let me feel what it is like to obliterate into something functional, something sturdy and rich, a statement piece. Couples will request me in an antique finish, demand that all sweating drinks be coastered, yell at the kids for nicking my corners. I will stand attentive in the master bedroom, listen to them fuck, watch their marriages end and their careers drag them from their beds. When their tiny lives are over and your tools scab with rust, I will remain, handcrafted, walnut, just how you made me. But suddenly garish and outdated, my dowels warped with humidity, missing the calloused heels of your hands while tired daughters scrape expired batteries, dog-eared Bibles from my drawers, then leave me outside of a Salvation Army. Nanny, mother. Next to me, a small girl sleeps, her arms tossed above her head like a scarf swept up in the wind, lips apart, the kind of sleep you only get as a kid. When I was her age and the sound of the possum eating the cat food on the deck would call me from my dreams, I would begin my charted course to my mother's bed. The hallway was bookended by light switches. It was a practice dance. Hit the first switch, 6 measured steps in the light, snap off the second, and arrive in the heady edges of her room. My eyes would find her milk skin in the blackness, always the same, belly down, elbows bent out from under the pillow, one calf folded over the top of the duvet. The next morning she'd laugh, her hair roostered and crown-like, as she accused me of kicking her all through the night. Once she remarried and my dreams would sour, I didn't let myself into her bed. Instead, I'd trail my pillow down the hall, pour my limbs onto the floor next to her nightstand, the nightmares already cooling like spilled wax. I've never admitted to her that it wasn't my fussing she felt in her sleep, but a reaching, a daughter's attempt to collide with the continent of her, just to be sure she was still there, and how even now, years later, I still orbit her like a satellite, taking every life I dream and beaming it back to her. Next to me, the girl turns in her sleep, kneecaps bumping my hip. I listen one more time for the wash of her breath, then leave, careful to skip the tired spots in the hardwood. Outside, the garden lights click off. Eventually, everything clocks out. Leaves us to the murk swirling behind our eyelids, leaves us to grow up, feeling our way through the dark.